Coming up on today's episode of Airborne-Special Edition. There was plenty of good to discuss at Sun and Fun 2021. Also, despite the pandemic putting everything on hold, it went surprisingly well. And thoughts about the community. Welcome to this special edition of Airborne. I'm your host, Kimberly Kay. Now, as many of you know, A&N's Jim Campbell has been in the past a vocal critic of the old Sun and Fun flying organization, now called the Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo. But his criticism has been surprisingly rare over the last few years. The main reason being is that there's new leadership and a whole new cast of characters leading the event. More important though, there's a new mission for what was a major fly-in and what has now become a movement that seeks to build a better future for aviation, starting with their Aerospace Center of Excellence. All expectations were that this year's Sun and Fun should have been an outright disaster, coming on the heels of one of the worst years in recent U.S. history. But aviation is far more resilient than that. Many of the companies sure are. And a pent-up demand and a serious desire for Aviation Fellowship and seeing airplanes flying free once again created a stunningly successful event. A&N's Jim Campbell has been watching some of the criticism of the event, and while much of it isn't totally incorrect, the blame that's being placed is wildly off target. A&N boss takes a few minutes to tell you what he thought about the Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo, the good, the bad, and the not so airworthy.
Well, folks, it's been almost 2 weeks since the end of the Sun and Fun fly-in. It came to a rather successful conclusion, and by all reports, the numbers were better than expected and could even have set records. We haven't got official word from Sun and Fun yet. They're still bean counting and doing all the things that they need to do to get some kind of idea about what happened. But because they're dealing with short staffing and things of that nature, it's going to take a while. And we fully understand that, which gets us to the point of why I'm putting together this program. First, I've seen a lot of comments about this year's fly-in. And let's face it, if anybody knows how to criticism, it's moi. But at the same time, you may not have heard a whole lot of criticism over the last few years because it's a different crew, it's a different leadership, and oh yeah, it's a different mission. It's no longer just a fly-in. They have this sense of trying to do something about aviation rather than watching everybody else talk about what's wrong with it. They built the Aerospace Center of Excellence. They built all kinds of programs, educational programs, some certified with the state and so forth, that are building a huge foundation for the future using today's youth. People who want to fly are young enough to have all kinds of dreams and really don't know where it's going to take them. They just know they want to go. And that is what is now the background for everything that Sun and Fun does. It's not just a fly-in, it's this massive mission looking to regrow aviation, starting aviator by kids who simply dream of flying or being a part of aviation as mechanics and technicians and so forth. And if there's a nobler mission than that, I don't know what it is. Okay, let's talk about the fly-in. Started out slow like every single one does. Sun and Fun is kind of interesting is that it starts slow and finishes big, whereas Oshkosh kind of starts big and kind of peters off toward the end. Sun and Fun built, and it built horrendously fast and very well. The first day wasn't that great in the morning, but by afternoon, people were noticing that things were happening. Yes, the mask rule kind of went out the window, but then again, one thing that people don't note in their criticism of this is that the governor removed the mask mandate in Florida a couple days before, so Sun and Fun didn't have a legal leg to stand on. What they did do is make masks available. They did sanitizing wherever. I saw them fog the buildings. I saw them do things that were necessary to keep things clean, and they did everything they could without getting people's noses out of joint, because the fact of the matter is they no longer had a state mandate to tell people to mask up. A lot of people ignored it. We're a very independent, very conservative community. So, okay, not a surprise. Overall, the criticism of Sun and Fun on that score, it's on and it's off. At the same time, there's a lot of criticism about media and so forth, and some of that is spot on, but not in the way that you think. The media situation at Sun and Fun this year sucked. It was awful. But then again, I looked at some of the biggest publications around, outside of A&N, of course, come in for a day or two and then disappear. I saw them not look for where press conferences were, and yeah, press conferences this year were a different ball game. But I can tell you in no uncertain terms that we came to press conferences and we were the only ones there. So that's got to tell you something. We knew about them, we got to them, we were there, and you can see some of the interviews from there. So criticizing that aspect is a little tough. At the same time, where most of the blame on this goes is on the industry. I used to tell people that 75% of the industry couldn't market or communicate their way out of a paper bag. I think it's closer to 90. And I've seen it everywhere. I've seen it at worst, some of the worst in the past couple of years has been at NBAA. And you would think those people would have the money to get it right. Maybe they think money will do it all, but what it really takes is talent and care and a little bit of knowledge. You don't have to be an expert to communicate. But this is what aviation's all about. We tell people how wonderful things are and we give them the chance to do it for themselves.
After the break, Jim describes some of the highlights of the event, planes he flew, products he saw, and observations about what worked or didn't and why.
Whether you're charting a steady course or pushing for the ceiling, Hartzell Propeller has been elevating flight for over 100 years. It's in our passion for engineering and research. It's in our dedication to testing the limits of performance and creating propellers that are as safe as they are sexy. Now, together with our dedicated family of companies, we're propelling the future of aviation. We are Hartzell Propeller, built on honor.
The M600 SLS with Halo system is the first general aviation aircraft in the world that can safely land itself in the event that the pilot is unable. Thanks to Garmin Autoland, the system can be engaged with the simple press of a button. Autoland safely guides the aircraft and your most precious cargo to the nearest airport. The M600 SLS with Halo system, recalibrating the scale of safety.
Aviation Safety Resources is disrupting the market for aircraft emergency parachute recovery systems. ASR systems are smaller, lighter weight, and offer longer repack cycles than similar products available in the current market. ASR has a recovery system available for every type of aircraft: sport, experimental, light sport, general aviation, urban air mobility, vertical takeoff and landing, electric propulsion, and unmanned aerial systems. Find the right product for your aircraft at aviationsafetyresources.com.
Welcome back. To most everyone's surprise, there's a lot about Sun and Fun that worked pretty well.
There were a lot of great new things. One of my rules, I've stopped flying or test flying at these shows because it's gotten very hit and miss, meaning I'm trying not to be hit and being missed. But at the same time, we did it this year. We flew the Piper 100i, which is as plain vanilla a trainer as you could possibly get. And yet they did a spectacular job with this airplane. It is an Archer. They took out the back window that doesn't have a baggage area. It's only got a third seat rather than the 4 seats, but it's got a cockpit set up with envelope protection, which to a flight instructor, somebody out for a solo or a solo cross country is just one of those little things that go, yeah, the airplane's going to protect you too. I'm giving you all the knowledge I can, but it's nice to have the student be protected by the airplane as well. And it's a brilliant system and it works well. And Elise Wheelacker from Piper showed me the airplane very nicely. I went out, did a stability control profile, some basic performance, not a full flight test, but we flew it around the better part of an hour, and then played hit and miss roulette on final at Sun and Fun getting in the day before, where we really had the chance to check out how well the airplane slipped, because I got the infamous Sun and Fun short final submarine approach, which was to bring us in close to pattern altitude, right to the threshold of the runway and tell us to dive for the deck. Submarine approach, dive, dive, dive. We got it down. We got it down on the numbers. It was not my best landing. We've spent some time with the Diamond DA62 people, and if there's a better transportation system, I mean, it's a mini airliner. The airplane is stunning. I'm at 6,500 feet in that neighborhood. I've got an engine shut down and caged on, climbing 600 foot a minute with 3 on board and a decent amount of fuel on a warm day. The panel installation is gorgeous. Traffic callouts were wonderful, especially since, again, hit and miss roulette out there going back into Plant City. The airplane flies beautifully. I am really looking forward to a formal flight test on it because it is an extraordinarily complex airplane in design and a simple airplane in how it operates and executes its mission. Beautifully done. Boy, if you're looking for a serious transportation system and have the better part of a megabuck, i.e. better part of $1 million, this monster will just take you wherever you want to go. Beautifully done. On another case, we flew the NX-Cub, which I should hate. It's a nose wheel on a Cub, and it's an awful idea until you realize that they put incredible thought into building this just in phenomenally rugged nose wheel that you can slam into the deck and do all kinds of things with, and it basically just sits there and says, bring it on. When you're coming in on a 50-55 knot approach, high alpha on a rain-slicked runway, grass, and he tells you, go ahead, lock the brakes, slam it on, and you come screech into a halt in under 200 feet on wet grass, and you're sliding this and sliding that. If that had been a tail dragger, you'd have been on your back. The nose wheel in the NX-Cub works. And there's so many other airplanes that we got such a kick out of. We flew the Skyleader 600 a couple of days before Sun and Fun, and for a little LSA, the thing is rugged. It's well crafted. It's got a slick canopy, flies really well, and despite kind of a bumpy day and so forth, gives you a great ride. And yeah, it's barely a 100-knot airplane, but that's what you want in an LSA. You want something rugged that isn't going to scare you, it isn't going to hurt you, and when things get a little nasty out there, it just lets you ride through. Skyleader 600 is just a solid little airplane, and the workmanship is stunning. There was a lot more. We're happy to see the CGS Hawk back, despite some of the prior histories. There's a new owner who's really trying hard to do great things. Pipister's doing amazing things with motor gliders and electrics, and you're going to see some stuff at Oshkosh that's going to knock you out. I cannot wait to fly their motor glider. Bushcat has a very simple kind of Kit Fox category airplane that's so much simpler to build and maintain than many others, and the costs of operation are going to be minimal. We don't have a flight test on it yet, but you can count on that in a couple of weeks. And then above and beyond that, there was the light plane area, which was not that well populated, certainly showed some interest from a lot of people. We saw a lot of the older players that have been there for a while doing their best to make up for a bad year. And then when we went through the exhibit areas, we saw some extraordinary stuff. Curdy Zephyr, they have a helicopter. It's a home built. It'll be a kit. It'll eventually be certified. It's using the PBS turbine. So it's a turbine helicopter. It costs somewhere in the $600,000 area as a kit. And it's got a ballistic parachute. And they've fired this thing off and they've operated it. And granted, most helicopters don't need a chute, but man, there's just one or two cases when it does. I mean, the first time they save somebody's butt, you'll know it. It's an extraordinary machine and an extraordinary idea, and we can't wait to fly it. First one may be here by Oshkosh. There's so much more, and we will talk about all the stuff that we flew and such in the future.
After the break, Jim adds some details about some of the things that contributed to Sun and Fun's surprising successes this year.
We've been using Swift fuels for 5 years. We use it on 2 different Rotax-powered aircraft. Swift fuel gives us the power we need, the reliability we need. We've also found that it has a very long shelf life. It runs clean. We don't have to scrub gunk out of our oil tank. It makes a huge difference compared to 100 low lead.
Skyleader Aircraft offers a lineup of the most powerful, durable, and efficient light sport aircraft in the industry. From trainers to roomy cockpits for long hauls, Skyleader has an aircraft for you. And the best part? They're in your budget. Skyleader's base prices are set low to give you room to customize your aircraft to your needs, desires, and wallet, allowing you to put your money where it matters to you most. Visit flyskyleader.com today to learn about our aircraft customization options, and chat with the team.
If it looks good, it usually flies good. The Bristol series of aircraft is proof of that. Furthering their legacy of safety and efficiency, Bristol is proud to feature the Rotax 915 IS Turbo in the current lineup of aircraft. The 915 IS Turbo power plant offers more power than ever before in a light sport aircraft. Learn more about Bristol at www.sportflyingusa.com.
Welcome back. Jim talks about the reality of some of the criticisms against Sun and Fun and where so many of them missed the mark. The simple fact, not only were they able to pull this event off, they did it well and safely.
But let me go back to the Sun and Fun experience. This organization, Sun and Fun, was almost dead a year ago. Like everybody else, the pandemic hammered us. They lost a lot of their people. When they came into Sun and Fun, a lot of their volunteer staff was gone. They're older people who were justifiably scared about being out in public, or frankly, had not great years. And this was not the time for them to go out yet. So they were shorthanded staff-wise. They were shorthanded volunteer-wise. They had less time to plan and work on it. And they had the failure of last year when they had to cancel everything and all the attendant costs that went with it. And the fact that they put on a show is a major miracle. Our agreement with Sun and Fun to produce a digital daily, there's a whole lot of stuff that got promised us that didn't get done. And I got to tell you, I'm not mad about it. I'm not even complaining per se. I'm just telling you that we were aware that they got hammered. We were aware that they were doing the best that they could. And when we had a request, it sometimes took a while to get things done, but everybody was doing the best they could in an order of succession based on who was calling in and when and all that. And they tried their best. And so the abject criticism of Sun and Fun for not having Wi-Fi working well, which is more an infrastructure problem around the area, although there's still things that can be done. And oh, by the way, we brought hotspots and we did okay. So what's that tell you? I mean, half the time it was our cell phones were our hotspots. So there you go. And we brought other equipment, other things ready for problems. We found them, we dealt with them, we fixed them, we got on with it. We did our job. So did Sun and Fun. So did the people who came there. And let me talk about one other thing. Manufacturers have to understand that this is their opportunity to present themselves to the public. They got to bring their A game. They got to prepare for the shows. They got to be ready to get there and put their best foot forward, have a great display, have documentation, understand what people want, have a good digital media strategy, because a lot of people are going to get there and then wonder, oh, wait a second. That Waco looked cool, but I didn't get the info that I wanted, so I better go look at their website. Thankfully, in Waco's case, they've got a whole bunch of stuff going on great, and they've got a good marketing plan. But if you ask about the XYZ 2000 and they don't have a website, or the website hasn't been touched in 3 years, and they don't have documentation, and the people behind the booth can't tell you what the URL is, man, there's nobody to blame but us. We have to bring our A game, which leads me to the final issue I bring here. Our community has been stunned. Our community has been hurt. Our community has been damaged. In some cases, members of our community have been killed. We are an extraordinary lot of people. We are not average people. We are not groundhogs. We are pilots and aviators and aviation professionals. We need to rebuild our community. We need to work together. We need to think about all the things that we can do to help and support each other, and not just go to a fly-in and go, oh, hi, how are you? And ignore the rest. We need to look for ways to support each other. We need to demand of our associations that they do their phony baloney jobs. I am not impressed by what I'm seeing out there right now. They're happy to take your money. They're happy to get you dues. They're happy to sell you a hat and a t-shirt and this, that, and the other. But what are they doing for it? I'm not seeing a return on the investment. The community needs to get together. It needs to demand of the associations that they do likewise and support the communities. And we need to go to Oshkosh. And we need to make Oshkosh the biggest, baddest, bestest thing we've ever done, and celebrate this community coming together in a way we have never seen before, and use that as a foundation for going forward. Sun and Fun was great, warts and all. the good, the bad, the ugly, the unairworthy, whatever you want to call it. It was great. It shouldn't have been. And it was because enough people gave a damn, enough people cared, enough people got together. So that aviators who just wanted to see airplanes fly and wanted to see an aerobatic performer do his things, and the Blue Angels, God bless them, do their things, and go through booths and look at the greatest whiz bang and look at an Aspen and, look at what's going on with this, the latest prop, the latest gadget, the latest goodie. They got the chance. It had been a long year, and it was long overdue that we got a chance to do our thing. I hope you had as much fun as I did at Sun and Fun, warts and all. And we really look forward to seeing you at Oshkosh. For the Aero-News Network, Airborne and Aero-TV, I'm Jim Campbell.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Airborne Special Edition, an interview series designed to bring special attention to topics of critical importance to the aviation community. This show will be a regular part of Airborne programming in the future. So, your suggestions for interview topics are always welcome, and feel free to comment on our social media pages. Once again, thanks for watching. Oh, and by the way, ANN is the official news partner for Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo. Be sure to check out our coverage of this year's amazing event at the website you see on your screen.